crystalline. Eyes meet, you know where this goes. Her keys in, they take off their clothes, they're soaking. Caught in a dream, her skin shines like crystalline. Waiting teeth, their skin shines crystalline. Rush out on an uptown train, doors open. As she walks in, she's soaking. Caught in the rain, her skin shines like crystalline.
All right, everyone. Hello, and God bless you all who are a part of my kindred people of God. I have some disturbing things for you to read tonight. I hope you're ready. Get your barf bag ready. It's about to be on. All right, I think I've given everyone ample time. So here we go. No more messing around. We're going to get to the nitty gritty right out of the gate here, y'all. So I'll make this a little bigger in a minute. I just wanted you all to be able to see it in regular view first, even though the text is a little smaller, so that you can see more of the screen. And so you'll be able to kind of see what's going on here, what you would be expecting when you look for it yourself online. So like I said, it's 2026. The gloves are off. This is the first year of Jacob's trouble. And that's according to the blood moons and the eclipses since Christ's resurrection. So, or since his sacrifice. So, everyone's gloves off now, so we're going gloves off from now on. I told y'all we're going hard as fuck this year, pardon my French, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So, for all of your friends, family members, whoever, are still bowing to Jewry or any concept that comes from it, diversity, invasion of our countries, anything that's promoted by them that you show people regularly or speak about regularly to people who are still in denial. Tonight, I'm going to show you exactly how to, with your phone or your computer, show anyone, anywhere, anytime, exactly what you ought to show them concerning the Jews. So here we go. What you want to do in order to show people what our greatest ally, as they call themselves, are all about, and who are behind Pizzagate and who are behind all of the worldwide child, pedo, sex trafficking rings, whatever. You fire up a Google page in front of your friends, and you type in Sefaria.org, or just Sefaria, and it brings it up right away. And what you're looking for is this one right here, the tal-MUD. The tal-MUD. You're going to click that because that's what Jews actually follow. They don't even have to follow the tal-MUD. They can actually disobey all of their own rules and all of their own laws that allegedly only apply to them. But this is their plan that they go by. This is their book of rules for them as far as how they interact with each other and what's allowed and what technically isn't, But again, they can break all of their rules anytime they wish. So let me scroll back up real quick. This is what you're going to see when you come to this page. Let me crunch it down a little bit so it doesn't look quite so big. I have it increased right now. Okay, this is about what it'll look like when you get on the page. And what you'll see off to the left here are different books, if you will, of the tal-MUD. And what you need to do is you just scroll down past all of these until you get to Niddah. That's the one you're looking for. So you just keep on scrolling, keep on scrolling. Oh, it got stuck. Sorry. So you just keep on scrolling until you get to Niddah. See this one here? Niddah. We put it at the top. Niddah. Right there. You're going to click on that. And you're going to go on down and see that it has it sectioned by chapters. Chapter 1, Chapter 2. So what you're looking for, you'll notice that a lot of these go numerically, right? Or all of this goes numerically, and it continues counting up, all right? So it doesn't start over when you get to a new chapter. It just keeps counting up. So all you have to do is you can ignore the big chapter sections because what you're looking for is in these small numbers. And what you're looking for is 44B. You see that there, folks? 44B. You don't have to remember anything else. Just NIDA 44B. Now, we're going to go ahead and increase the text size. So it's going to distort how the page would normally look when you show it to people. But that's so you can have a larger viewing screen. So here we are. 44B, you all. This is what you're looking for. And then you're just going to scroll on down until you get to, I don't want to call it a verse, but a chapter or a paragraph, we'll call it. Paragraph number 9. Now I'm going to stop right here and just let you see. If you look off to the right, I don't have my cursor available for view for you all, but if you look off to the right of the gibberish that's at the top, you'll see the number 5, all right? That is what you're looking for. As you scroll down this page, you're looking for that number. There's number 6, number 7, number 8, and what you're looking for is, well, you could start here if you want at number 8. But that's not really what we need to be focused on. Let's start at chapter or paragraph, if you will, number 9. Here it is. 9 being Satan's number, by the way. So here we go. I don't have a way to, well, yeah, I guess I could, but I don't want to click OK on that. I don't think I can get rid of this X right here up the top left and make the screen any bigger because I think it'll get rid of where I've went to. So we're just going to stick with what we got here. And this is as much as we'll be able to look at on the screen at a time. My apologies for not being able to show you more of the screen at once, but I want the text to be large so that people who don't see as well will still be able to see. So here we go. And by the way, let me just say hello to my first noticers who've chimed in. Hello, Evan Smith. He was here lickety split. God bless you. Hello. And Blue Columbine. My bad. I know your name. I don't know why I said Blue Collar. Thank you for chiming in. Hello. And God bless to you. All right. Well, if everyone's got their barf bags ready, we're going to begin. And, the last time I posted a video, I posted an actual video showing this stuff, but I didn't want to read any of it because obvious reasons, and you'll see why here in a minute. You probably already see why. But tonight, this needs to be read out loud so that people can hear out loud just how sickening and despicable and vile this book is that should not even be allowed on U.S. soil other than for us to study our enemy abroad, whom should never be allowed on our soil as well. Much less allow synagogues to exist here and for this book to be openly followed by the Jews. None of that should be allowed here, and here we go as to why. So, Mishnah, there's no need for you to understand what it means, really. The bottom line is, it doesn't matter what a Jew's technical definition of Mishnah is. It's basically just an inquiry, all right? It's basically a certain Jew asking a rabbi, hypothetically, if you will, a question or an inquiry. And so the Mishnahs will be like scenarios, like these weird scenarios, or a question. And each time it is a question, most often, or it's an actual statement by the rabbi, one or the other. It's basically the Talmud is a collection of books where rabbis are asked by other Jews or other rabbis what their opinions are about things. And like how we are forced to use case law now as our precedent for law, this is their equivalent of that. This is case law for them because it's not by cases, but by hypothetical cases that were thought up and asked to the rabbis, and the rabbis answered, and their answer, their opinion, is the official position of the Talmud. And the Talmud is the official position of the Jews, even though they won't tell you that. And by the way, just let me say one more time before we get started here that anytime you hear a Jew ever refer to the Torah, as they call it, right? It's really pronounced Torah because it's pronounced the way we pronounce it, Torah. But they call it the Torah, right? And so anytime you hear a Jew referring to the Torah and saying that they, don't do this or that based on that and everything, anytime they mention our Torah, they are just taking the piss at white people. And all Jews know that they don't follow our Torah at all other than to study it as the book of their enemy. And to copy things out of it and apply to themselves to commandeer our identity. But they themselves all know when they hear any Jew say that, they giggle to themselves on the inside because they know that all Jews follow the Talmud. So, we got another early noticer, Deb of Christ. Hello, dear. God bless you. And I haven't got to see you in the chat since the bad news you gave us a while back. So I'm very sorry to hear about the passing of your husband. And God bless you, dear, and God bless your family. And there's nothing good enough I could possibly say to express to you just how bad all of us feel for you. And we hope that God is with you every day with his Holy Ghost and keeping you and your children strong and protected. And I don't want to derail what we got going on tonight to go deeper into it, but I sure wish I could. I'm inclined to right now. So God bless you, though, I'll say just one more time real quick. And we all love you, and we all hope the absolute best for you. And and I'm sorry that I'm having to dedicate that part right in the beginning here to you real quick before we go into this terrible stuff for tonight. But this is just the way it's going to have to be since I got to see you finally in the chat for the first time since then. This is honestly, this is really not for ladies' eyes, but I understand that. I apologize. I'm going to have to clear my throat a lot tonight, y'all. The weather's just been messing with me a little bit. So I'm going to have to clear my throat a lot. I apologize. I realize, since y'all are truthers and you're higher echelon than a standard lady of ours who is capable of tolerating these types of things, but it is very vulgar, very vile, and is very women-oriented and little girl-oriented tonight. So this will be a very, very terrible session for you to be visiting back on for the first time. And my apologies. But this is gloves off year. They have already went gloves off. They've already put out half the Epstein files. What they're doing is they're giving us notice. They're relieving they're giving all their notice of everything because they know this is year one of Jacob's trouble. And so in this year one of Jacob's trouble, as I explained in the last stream, or showed, I should say, in the last stream, our Holy Bible explains to us that in the first year of Jacob's trouble, all will be revealed and knowledge will be increased. And knowledge has already been increased, but now knowledge is really going to be increased. And it's going to be increased this year. And the other thing it says that will happen this year is the Great Reset. That's what it's called, which oddly enough coincides with the Great Reset that the Jews have planned for us in 2030. Originally, the plan was 2025. And they realized that the eclipse and all of that was because of the eclipse and blood moons, they were actually off. So they called it 25 to 2026. But then they realized since it didn't happen till the end of the year that they were just going to say, no, it's 2026. So really it is. It's 2026 is the beginning of the first year of tribulation or the first year of Jacob's trouble. And so they are going to completely expose themselves this year, just as they already have with half the Epstein files coming out. Because remember, they don't have to just fully expose themselves, get on TV and go, hey, y'all, we're the Jews. We've been against you the whole time. We're actually Satan's kids. Da-da-da. We're not Israelites. They're not going to do it that way. But they do it boldly still. They just put it out in a way that white people, they put it out in waves that white people will absorb it and then continue on with our lives. Absorb it and continue on with our lives. And that means if we continue on with our lives, then they have given us notice of everything they're up to, and yet they continue to get away with it. And it's just like testing boundaries. Imagine a little kid, standing on in a front yard, and there's a street nearby the front yard. So the parent is saying, do not go beyond the yard. Do not even touch the sidewalk. I don't even want to see you on the sidewalk. I want you on the grass of our yard so that you're far enough away from that road. And what's that kid going to do? He's going to go all the way over there to the edge of the grass, and he's going to turn around and look at the parent and start touching the sidewalk, seeing it. Oh, can I go 1 inch onto the sidewalk? Can I go a whole foot of mine onto the sidewalk? My other foot's still technically on the grass. What if I keep most of my body leaning over the grass, but my whole leg is on the sidewalk? And that is what Jews do. They put out notice to us of what they're up to in phases that they know are big and bold, but are still small enough that will not rise white people up and rage against them. And so what will happen, the end result will be that white people will simply absorb the information and continue on with daily life. And therefore, they got away with it after completely exposing themselves and giving you full notice. So that's what's been going on since the beginning of this year. They have, just with the Super Bowl, they just showed you that they're going to push, the anti-American thing on you. And, of course, I don't watch Nig Ball. And I tell all white people that they should never, ever be watching any blacks chase a ball around for any reason. All white people should have already boycotted NASCAR and made them go totally broke for their Bubba Wallace stunt. The NHL should already be totally broke. All white people should already have stopped watching hockey after they watched a nigger be allowed to cut a white man's throat on the thing. And not only did they not boycott the NHL forever into oblivion, they gave him, the nigger, a standing ovation for every next game for however many games in a row. So, the gloves are off, y'all. There's no more time to fuck around. There's no more time beating around the bush. There's no more time being pussyfoots about our enemies. The Jews are our fucking enemies. Period. Dot. That's it. There's no more beating around the bush about it. There's no more soft talk about it. Them assholes literally have made millions of articles about white people, not just whiteness, which means white people, not just white supremacy, that means white people, not just white culture, that means white people, but white people. They had a blue-eyed white man of ours as president last term get up and announce that white people, by saying the word supremacy, but white people are the greatest threat to America. And if the white people are the greatest threat to the USA, then that means they're the greatest threat to the whole world. America is the superpower of the world, even though we're now the laughing stock as well. We're the clown show, upside down clown world thing now. But we are still, based on our laurels, we are still the superpower of the world. And so the gloves are completely off. That's it. There is no more pretending. There's no more being polite. They're not being polite. They're not being politically correct. They're not being cordial. They're not playing slick or sly or sneaky anymore. They're fully in the open now. Open hatred for all white people. Open hatred for any white person who has any dissent to being invaded and destroyed and replaced and laughed at all along the way. So, here we go. I know I keep saying we're going to begin. Now we really are. I hope you have your barf bags ready, and I was not joking when I said that. It was a real warning. So here we go. Mishnah. A girl who is 3 years old and 3 years and 1 day old, whose father arranged her betrothal that means marriage and sex, is betrothed through intercourse. There you go. They are married through the intercourse. That means sex. As the halakhic, or halakhic, yeah, that's it. The halakhic status of intercourse with her is that of intercourse in all halakhic senses. And in a case where the childless husband of a girl 3 years and 1 day old dies, if his brother engages in intercourse with her, he acquires her as his wife. And if she is married, a man other than her husband is liable for engaging in intercourse with her due to violation of the prohibition against intercourse with a married woman. So there you go. That's rule number 1 of line 9 of NIDA 45B. Here's paragraph 10. And if she is impure due to menstruation, she imparts impurity to one who engages in intercourse with her, who then renders impure all the layers of bedding beneath him, rendering them impure like the upper bedding covering a zav, in the sense that it assumes first-degree ritual impurity and does not become a primary source of ritual impurity, and it renders impure food and drink, but it does not render impure people and vessels. Paragraph 11. If she marries a priest, she may partake of the teruma, or teruma, however they pronounce it. It doesn't matter. And by the way, I don't want to hear any Jew ever come into my chat or into the comment section later going, you don't even know what that word means, or We don't have to know. The whole rest of the paragraphs explain it all for us. We don't need to know, nor do we have to care how to pronounce or what the definitions are for any of these particular words that y'all use only for yourselves, like teruma or halakhic or any of the other garbage. So anyway, like any other wife of a priest, if she is unmarried and one of the men who are unfit for the priesthood, example, a mamzer or halal, engaged in intercourse with her, he disqualifies her from marrying into the priesthood. And if she is the daughter of a priest, she is disqualified from partaking of teruma. Finally, if one of all those with whom relations are forbidden, as stated in the Torah, see, there you go, taking the piss out of our faith, her father or her husband's father engaged in intercourse with her, they are executed by the court for engaging in intercourse with her, and she is exempt because she is a minor. Now, don't let this fool you. They're not saying that because someone had sex with a minor that they're going to be executed and that the minor's absolved. That is not what they're saying here. And you can reread that a few times, coupled with the 2 paragraphs above. It all reads together as one bulk thing. And you will see that they are not talking about that. It's completely fine, and you will see for them to, well, you're going to see. So here we go. Paragraph 12. If the girl is less than that age, younger than 3 years and 1 day, the status of intercourse with her is not that of intercourse in all halakhic senses. Rather, it is like placing a finger into the eye. Just as in that case, the eye constricts, sheds tears, and then returns to its original state, so too, in a girl younger than 3 years and 1 day old, the hymen returns to its original state. Do you believe that garbage, y'all? The sages taught in Bereta, a girl who is 3 years old is betrothed through intercourse. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. And the rabbis say she must be 3 years and 1 day old. The Gemara asks, what is the difference between their opinions, as both agree that she cannot be betrothed before the age of 3? The sages of the school of Rabbi Yanai say there is a difference between their opinions in the case of a girl on the eve of the first day of the 4th year of her life. According to Rabbi Meir, she can be betrothed through intercourse as on this day 3 years are complete. Whereas the rabbis maintain that she cannot be betrothed in this manner, as she has not yet entered the first day of her 4th year. You see? See, big difference there. One is they're arguing whether she's actually turned 4 because it's the next day, the first day of her 4th birthday. And the other rabbis argue, no. It has to be, the whole day has to be complete. Or something like that. So, big difference, right? Here we go. Next paragraph. There is a difference between their opinions with regard to the issue of whether 30 days in a year are considered equivalent to a year. Rabbi Meir maintains that 30 days in a year are considered equivalent to a year, and therefore a girl aged 2 years and 30 days is already considered like a 3-year-old and may be betrothed through intercourse. By contrast, the rabbis contend that 30 days in a year are not considered equivalent to a year, and she may be betrothed through intercourse only upon reaching the age of 3 years and 1 whole day, you guys. The Gemara raises an objection against the explanation of Rabbi Yannai from a bereta. A girl who is 3 years old, and even one who is 2 years and 1 day old, is betrothed through intercourse. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. And the rabbis say, no, she must be 3 years and 1 day old. So it isn't good enough that a girl is 2 years and 30 days old, you guys, even though some top rabbis of the Talmud declare that that is so. The rest of the rabbis all agree, no. That's not right. That's completely wrong. She must be 3 years and 1 day old. Okay, granted, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yohanan, just as there is a Tana who says that 1 day in a year is considered equivalent to a year, so too there is a Tana who says that 30 days in a year are considered equivalent to a year. So, they're getting even greedier now. First, they wanted 30 days to be counted as a whole year so they could scoot the time back all the way to 2 years and 30 days. But now they also have another rabbi that says, hey, 1 day is like a whole year. So we don't even have to wait 2 years and 30 days. All we really need to wait is 2 years and 1 day. And that puts us at the 3-year mark. The Berita states that according to Rabbi Meir, a girl who is 2 years and 1 day old is considered like a 3-year-old. That's exactly what I just explained that they were saying. Following the opinion that 1 day in a year is equivalent to a full year. Similarly, Rabbi Yohanan maintains that there is a second Tana who says that 30 days in a year are considered equivalent to a full year, and therefore a girl can be betrothed by intercourse from the age of 2 years and 30 days. But according to the opinion of Rabbi Yannai, the Rabbi Meir requires a full 3 years, dadgummit. This bereta is difficult, as it explicitly states that in Rabbi Meir's opinion, even a girl aged 2 years and 1 day old can be betrothed by intercourse. See the great debate? This is the great debate, y'all. This is the great debate in Jewry. The Gemara concludes, indeed, this bereta is difficult, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yannai. So see, it's a difficult decision here because this guy's opinion is so valid and so important and has so much weight to the Jews that they're like, dang, he's kind of got a point here. If he's claiming that a day is like a year, we don't really got to wait till they're 3 years and 30 days old. We could, or 3 years and a day old. We could just do it at 2 years, right? Here we go. The last clause of the Mishnah teaches that if the girl is less than that age, i.e., younger than 3 years and 1 day, the status of intercourse with her is like placing a finger into the eye. A dilemma was raised before the sages. What happens to this hymen? Example, to the hymen of a girl under 3 with whom a man engaged in intercourse. Does it disappear and come back again later? Or perhaps it is not removed at all until after she reaches the age of 3? The Gemara asks, what difference is there in halakha between these two suggestions? The Gemara answers that there is a practical ramification in the case where a priest engaged in intercourse with a girl whom he is married within her first 3 years and found blood on her due to that intercourse, and again engaged in intercourse with her many times, including after she turned 3, but on that occasion he did not find blood. If you say that after engaging in intercourse when the girl is younger than 3, the hymen disappears and comes back again, here one can maintain that it disappeared due to the first time they engaged in intercourse and did not grow back because there was not enough time without intercourse for it to grow back. Are you barfing, y'all? But if you say that the hymen is not removed at all until after she reaches the age of 3, the fact that this girl did not emit blood after 3 years must be because another man engaged in intercourse with her after she turned 3, in which case she is classified as zona, a woman who has engaged in sexual intercourse with a man forbidden to her by the Torah. By the way, every time they're referencing the Torah here, not only are they taking the piss at Torah, but sometimes they will actually put a footnote symbol there. And if you go look it up, notice here they have no footnote indicator for it, right? Because they're just making that up. They're just applying this nonsense to our Holy Bible where it never talks about any such garbage anywhere in our Old Testament. And that's why there is no footnote here. But sometimes they will have a footnote indicator there. And what it'll be, if you click on it, you can read what they're referring to in our Old Testament. It will have nothing at all to do with whatever the hell they're talking about. And I encourage any of you who ever are scanning through anywhere in the Talmud and see them put a footnote when they mention the Torah of ours, go to that footnote, see where they're referencing in our Old Testament, and go to it yourself in our Old Testament and read the whole story, the whole area, the whole section they're referring to in its full context. And you won't even have to read it in its full context. It'll be obvious right out of the gate when you start reading that it has absolutely nothing to do with whatever they're talking about in their Talmud. So, anyway, but I just wanted to point that out as we'll keep seeing them refer to our Torah, our Old Testament, as though they're getting any of this garbage as a using our Torah as their reference. They are not. And is forbidden to her to husband the priest. Notice it's all this little 3-year-old girl's fault if some dude ever rapes her after the guy who has bought her or married her has raped her. It's still her fault, and she's never allowed to be married into the priesthood. What then is the resolution of the dilemma? This is the great debate, you all. The great debate in Jewry is in Niddah 44b, line 9 or paragraph 9 through to all where we're reading now, all the way through to the end of 45b. All right, here we go. Rav Hia, son of Rav Ika, objects to this explanation of the practical ramifications of the dilemma. But even if one maintains that the hymen of a girl younger than 3 disappears and grows back, one can still contend that this girl engaged in intercourse with another man. As who will say to us that a wound that was inflicted within 3 years of a girl's birth is not restored and healed immediately? Perhaps it is restored immediately, and this girl did not emit blood because another man engaged in intercourse with her previously, and she is therefore a zona who is forbidden to a priest. Rather, the practical difference between the two suggestions relates to a case where the husband engaged in intercourse with this girl within her first 3 years and found blood and engaged in intercourse with her again after she turned 3 and again found blood. If you say that the hymen disappears and comes back again, this blood emitted when she is less than 3 years old is blood from the tearing of the hymen, which does not render her impure. But if you say that the hymen is not removed at all until after she reaches the age of 3, then this blood she emitted when she was younger than 3 is menstrual blood, which renders her impure. What then is the resolution of the dilemma? You see here, they're saying that girls start having their period at 3 years old. Couldn't be because they're having sex with them or anything. All right. That couldn't be explanation of the blood, surely, right? Anyway, Rav Hizda said, "Come and hear the Mishnah. If the girl is less than that age of 3 years and 1 day, intercourse with her is like placing a finger into the eye." It's the third time they've said that now. Why do I need the Mishnah to teach like placing a finger into the eye? Let it teach simply. If she is less than that age, intercourse with her is nothing. In other words, no big deal. Doesn't count. It's like it never happened at all. What is it not correct that this is what the Mishnah teaches us by its comparison to an eye? Just as placing a finger in an eye causes it to tear and tear again, when another finger is placed in it, so too after the intercourse of a girl under 3, the hymen disappears and comes back again? The sages taught in a Bereta, there was an incident involving a Gentile woman, Eusteni, the daughter of Asverius, son of Antoninus, a Roman emperor, who came before Rabbi Yehuda ha-Nasi. She said to him, "My teacher, at what age is a woman fit to marry? Example, at what age is it appropriate for a woman to engage in intercourse, which would therefore be the appropriate time to marry?" Rabbi Yehuda said to her, "She must be at least 3 years and 1 day old." Eusteni further inquired, "And at what age is she fit to become pregnant?" Rabbi Yehuda said to her, "When she is at least 12 years and 1 day old." She said to him, "I married when I was 6 and gave birth a year later, when I was 7. Woe for those 3 years between the age of 3, when I was fit for intercourse, and the age of 6, when I married, as I wasted those years in my father's house by not engaging in intercourse." The Gemara asks, "And can a minor of that age become pregnant?" But didn't Rav whoever teach a Bereta before Rav Naaman, saying 3 women may engage in intercourse while using a contraceptive absorbent cloth, a soft fabric placed at the entrance to the womb to prevent conception, despite the fact that this practice is generally prohibited? Now, see here, this is them saying, look, we have rules, but you can still break them, even though they're basically just suggestions. But a Jew is allowed to break even their own rules anytime they want. And that's what he's saying right there, that even though it's generally prohibited, it's pretty common practice. They are a minor, a pregnant woman, and a nursing woman. A Bereta specifies the season. Hold on one second. I got to check something. Okay. The Bereta specifies the season for allowing these women to use contraceptive absorbent cloths. A minor, lest she become pregnant and perhaps die from this pregnancy. A pregnant woman, lest she be impregnated a second time and her older fetus become deformed into the shape of a sandalfish by, by being squashed by the pressure of the second fetus. And a nursing woman, lest she become pregnant and her milk dry up, in which case she weans her son too early, thereby endangering him, and he dies. Ooh, God forbid we harm the little boy Jews. The Bereta continues, and who is considered a minor? Is it a girl from the age of 11 years and 1 day until the age of 12 years and 1 day? If she was younger than that or older than that, she may go ahead and engage in intercourse in her usual manner, example, without contraception. This is the statement. Oh, no, that's a statement. And this is the statement of Rabbi Meir. Since it is assumed that a minor who is less than 11 years old cannot become pregnant, she is considered to be in no danger. So, any girl under the age of 11, they can have sex all they wish with no contraception, and they don't have to worry. All right. And the rabbis say, both in this case of a minor girl who can become pregnant and in that case of a minor girl who cannot become pregnant, she may go ahead and engage in intercourse in her usual manner, and heaven will have mercy upon her and prevent any mishap. As it is stated, the Lord preserves the simple. You see there? There's them referring to our Holy Bible. And look, they're even taking the piss at us with Psalms 116, verse 6. That's Hebrew word 119, just flipped around a little bit. They just flipped the sixes. Hebrew 119, Hebrew word 119 is Adam, white man, man who can blush. So, as usual, they're using our Holy Bible, which has, and I challenge you, go to Psalms 116, verse 6, read all way before it and way after it, and try to have it make any connection to this garbage they're talking about. The only thing it says is his little quote, the Lord preserves the simple. And it has nothing to do with having sex with little kids. All right, so here we go. In light of the statement of Rabbi Meir, how could Justini have become pregnant at age 7? The Gemara answers, if you wish, say that Justini was able to become pregnant at such a young age because she was a Gentile. And the verse states with regard to Gentiles, quote, their flesh is the flesh of donkeys. And look, it has a biblical quote declaring that our Holy Bible declares that our flesh is like the flesh of donkeys. How about that? So, again, I challenge any of you to go to Ezekiel chapter 23, begin at the very beginning of the chapter and read all the way through to 20 and all the way clear past 20 till it gets all the way to the end of whatever story it's saying. And I promise you, our Holy Bible will not say that our flesh, white people's flesh, is the flesh of donkeys. Anyhow, and if you wish, say instead that Justini was lying when she said she became pregnant at age 7, as it is stated with regard to Gentiles, quote, whose mouth speaks falsehood, and their right hand is a right hand of lying, end quote. And what does it have? Another one of your white man's religion, Holy Bible verses to use as its reference for its claim against white people. Have a read of that if you like. And where was that it claimed? Psalms 144. I promise you, Psalms chapter 144 has nothing like that about white people. The sages taught in a Bereta, there was an incident involving a certain woman who came before Rabbi Akiva and said to him, my teacher, I engaged in intercourse within 3 years of my birth. What is my status with regard to marrying into the priesthood? Rabbi Akiva said to her, you are fit to marry into the priesthood. Why? Because any man who raped her, any Jew who raped her since she was younger than 3 years old when it happened, but it didn't happen after that, from 3 years and 1 day to, say, 6 years old, she's good to go. And so he told her, since you've had sex before the age of 3, and that was all, you're good to go. You can marry into the priesthood still. You're still considered pure. All right. She said to him, my teacher, I will tell you a parable. To what? Now, there you go. Jesus told parables, so of course they got to throw that in there. I will tell you a parable. To what is this matter comparable? Is it comparable to a baby whose finger one forcibly dipped in honey? On the first time and the second time, he moans at his mother for doing so. But on the third occasion, once he is used to the taste of honey, he willingly sucks the finger dipped in honey. She was insinuating to Rabbi Akiva that she engaged in intercourse several times, and although the first couple of times were against her will, the third incident was with her consent. Rabbi Akiva said to her, if so, you are disqualified from marrying into the priesthood. So in other words, the girl can only remain impure or remain pure if each time she was raped, she didn't want it. All right. But if she got into it and enjoyed it and ever wanted it on her own, or, was accepting of it as being willing to do it, well, then she's disqualified, because, by golly, it needed to be terrifying and horrible and be rape for her that she didn't want to happen to her. Otherwise, she's a bad girl and disqualified from marrying into the priesthood. All right. Rabbi Akiva saw his students looking at each other, puzzling over this ruling. He said to them, why is this matter difficult in your eyes? They said to him, just as the entire Torah, there's ragging on our Holy Bible again, is a halakha transmitted to Moses from Sinai, so too this halakha of a girl who engaged in intercourse when she was less than 3 years old, example, that she is fit to marry into the priesthood, is halakha transmitted to Moses from Sinai. And it applies whether she engaged intercourse against her will or with her consent. The Gemara notes, and even Rabbi Akiva did not say to the woman that she was unfit to marry into the priesthood because that is the halakha. Rather, he did so only to sharpen the minds of his students with his statement, to see how they would respond. See there? He's just testing his students, y'all. Testing how sharp their Jewish minds can think. He's growing free thinkers, you guys. All right, here we go. Mishnah. In the case of a boy, 9 years and 1 day old, whose brother had died childless, who engaged in intercourse with this Yavama, his brother's widow, the status of the intercourse is that of halakhic intercourse, and he acquires her as his wife, but he cannot give her a bill of divorce if he chooses to end the marriage until he reaches majority. All right. I think I'm going to stop there. You're welcome to read more, because what this does is this shifts over to the boy side of things. All right. And I'm not taking away from the boy side of them being traumatized sexually and all those things also. But this does not focus on that. Instead, this focuses on the boy being able to have sex with whoever he wants and at whatever age he wants. You'll notice here they start trying to have sex at 9 years old. And it's totally normal for them to do so in Jew world. And so this goes through covering what all females will become his wives if he mates with them, has sex with them, whatever, depending on what age they are and what age he is when he has intercourse with them. And so none of this is really talking about boys being yiddy-diddled. And so since I wanted to focus specifically on what's most important to show, I didn't want to continue reading on. But you're welcome to pause after the stream. You want to replay it back and grab these spots, pause, screenshot these, whatever you like. But again, All you have to do anytime, this is online for everyone to go visit any old way, any old time, from any old where, from any old device. All you got to do is hop on Google, type Seafaria. It will be the first thing that pops up. Click on tal-MUD, scroll down until you see NIDA. You click NIDA. You scroll down till you see 45B. You click on 45B. You scroll down till you see paragraph number 9. And they are numbered on the right-hand side of the screen, not the left side of the screen like we are used to. And that's that. Then you begin at line 9 and you read all the way to where I read. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and scroll a little more here. This is all just civil stuff for the boy. You know, who belongs to him once he's slept with them, at what ages and whatnot. So none of that's really important. But there you have it. Now you know. I've warned y'all all along about NIDA 45B in the comment sections of other channels' comment sections, and I have warned y'all about it here on this channel. And so it was time for you all to finally read some of this yourselves. Let me just put it on a spot here. I apologize that I'm scrolling all over the place. We'll just leave it on this page for a little while. Just for new visitors, when they pop in, this might be the first thing they see on the screen. And I have some more things to show you. So don't rush off on me too quick if you can help it. We're just going to let this be here for a moment while I say hello to the chat. And then we'll move on to the other things I have to show you. Camo has stopped in early on and said hello. God bless you. Hello to you. And it looks like that is all who have chimed in so far. Okay. Slow night because, hey, Tuesday night after all. And I start late. I understand that. I get it. So I don't expect to have strong view counts, especially on a Sunday night or especially on a Tuesday night. And you know, I don't get a lot of view counts anyway for live streams, but that's all right. I'd rather interact with you folks who are serious about the destruction of our people than post videos that can just get deleted and then I get a strike on my channel and all this crap. And, you know, if I were to post all of this that I read tonight on a video, just matter of fact, like I've done it here in the stream, it would be struck within 12 hours minimum. It would probably be taken down in 2 or less. And sometimes when I've tried to upload videos, they have outright rejected them and banned them before they ever posted. One time, one was posted for like just a few minutes of time, and someone or a couple of you who've been old school viewers of mine for a long time were watching that video, and it suddenly just cut off on them because they deleted the video. So those are that. As a matter of fact, that happened on how non-whites survived the flood, and that also happened on Training Day Part 2. So they actually deleted Training Day Part 2 while it was in the first few minutes it was playing for the first viewers who had clicked it. Anyhow, so let me say a couple things real quick here. Just go back and just look through what everybody had said. Blue Columbine said, soft disclosure. They have to tell us. It's like part of the demonic contract. Once we have seen enough and don't react, it's like a form of consent. But it isn't consent, like he's saying in the parentheses, but for lack of a better word. Correct. That's absolutely what it is. Remember, they always tell you, and even in legal world, which is their world too, legalese and legalism is Jewry. It's Jewish satanic perversion of our law. And even in that, they tell you that not objecting is agreement. So if you're in a court of law, and this is for just real quick, I'm just going to, for anyone who doesn't know this, you all need to know this, all right? For any of you who've ever thought that, oh, if I am dissatisfied with a court ruling, and if I have enough money, I have a good enough Jew lawyer or something, you know, I can simply appeal whatever their finding was that's been found, whatever was ruled against me, right? If I disagree with it. Well, in fact, you cannot appeal any sentence, okay? If you're sentenced to jail or a traffic ticket or whatever, and the judge finds you guilty, right? You cannot appeal that judgment. People misunderstand what appeals are. You cannot appeal that judgment. What you're appealing is anything that you said, I object, or objection in court, or any objection that you have filed, timely filed in paperwork. The only thing you can ever appeal in any appellate court, this is any appellate court, you all. There is no such thing as some other fantasy appellate court where you can just go and appeal a court case that you're dissatisfied with the judgment of. There is only one level of appellate court that you can go to first. That's district, okay? And appellate courts will only hear an appeal made from an objection. So if you do not object to something during your court case that they try to do against you that is an illegal maneuver, even in jury legalese maneuver, it has to be illegal in legalese maneuvers, right? Like, you know, I don't want to give an example, but because I don't want to derail myself, but anything that is done that you catch that is conflicting with what they call due process, right? Or anything that violates one of your constitutional rights, right? As people love to say, any of those things, if you have to, during any court case ever, if you plan on being able to appeal anything about the court case, you must object to something in that court hearing sequence, whatever. It don't have to be during a hearing. You know, you could object to something that's happening not during a hearing, you know. But the bottom line is, if you don't object to anything during a session of court or a series of sessions of court that are held against you, and then a judgment is found against you, there is no appealing it. There's no appealing anything because you didn't object anything during the sessions, during the hearing, during the trial, during the dispositions, during the whatever. You didn't object to anything, so you have nothing to appeal. And so exactly what Blue Columbine just said here is exactly how legalism ever got its concept of giving conspicuous notice. What Blue Columbine just spoke about here in the chat earlier is they're giving us conspicuous notice. The Epstein files, the gloves off with all the articles they write, and having our former president Biden say that white people are the greatest threat to our country and all those things in the national address. That is all a part of them exposing themselves through conspicuous notice. They rub in all the Trump supporters' faces how Trump is the first Jewish president and how he's, and they give him every Jewish award, all the highest Jewish awards, and Trump just gobbles it up because of his ego. He just gobbles it all up and thinks, wow, man, all these people just love me, you know? And so they play him like a fiddle, you know? And Trump truly is just a dipshit, right? He may think that he's accepted by the Jews, but no Jew is accepting of Trump. Trump is blonde-haired, blue-eyed devil to the Jews. And they are just playing him like a fiddle. And they have his whole life. They've used money his whole life to play him like a fiddle. And they suckered his daughters out of him and suckered, you know, their way right into his empire. And they play him like a fiddle. That's it. And all the while, all they have to do, and the reason why I know this is true is because I personally know guys, only a few, but a couple of guys who have the exact same mentality as Trump, exactly on the nose. and I watch any worthless black or brownoid start talking with the guy, one of those guys that I know, right? And their ego, they're so proud of themselves, they'll start bragging about themselves to the brownoid or the black to give themselves an ego, and they expect that the brownoid or the black is going to flatter along with them and compliment them about their accomplishments that they're bragging about, right? And sure as shit, blacks and brownoids have figured out with those types like Trump to smile their ass off. As soon as they interact, and I want all of you to start looking for this out in public, and you will notice this your own selves out in public. Anytime you are with a white guy who has self-deluded himself into being an egomaniac, right? Watch how non-whites interact with him as he begins to brag about himself to that non-white. The non-white's face will instantly light up like, ooh, I got me a sucker. Like a chicken wing with hot sauce doused all over it just hobbled its way over right in front of the nog. Like a giant watermelon just hopped right up in front of his face. A new sucker, a new piece of prey. Look at this egotistical white guy. So quick to brag about all of his secrets to me, all the greatness of his company, all of his secrets of his company, how he made his money, how he worked his way from the small little nothing to what he is, and what little tricks he used along the way. And blacks and brownoids are trying to learn every piece of insider information. They think that white people live in this like world where we have these like inside discussions and talks. They think we live like the Jews actually live, where we have these think tanks together and maybe we did it years ago, maybe we don't now, but maybe 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago we were doing all these think tanks figuring out all this stuff that keeps us at hyper advantage over all the others and all this crap at all times, right? Meanwhile, that's the type of things Jews do, not white people. But they interact with us that way, and they've interacted with us and told themselves that that's how we operate for so long that now they've got themselves self-duped into thinking that anytime an egotistical or egomaniac white guy comes around them and starts bragging about how he became a big shot and how he makes his money and what he does for a living to make his money or what kind of business he owns to make money, they just want to absorb that information so they can see if any of that could be applied themselves, if they can go and try to do any of that themselves right now to steal some of the money, steal some of the thunder, steal some of the income from white people using their own tricks, their own little niche they've found to make money at. And this stupid fucking idiot egomaniac will sit here and brag and vomit all of his secrets out to some worthless dung hutter that was standing there just sweeping the floor as a janitor of the place. And now this guy is going to brag to this fucking black about how to go out and find a niche thing to make millions of dollars like he did, you know? And half the time, these ego cucks that I know aren't even millionaires or even 100,000aires. So they're literally cucking away the information of how to get into their job and take their jobs from them. You got to understand, blacks and brownoids understand that white women who are in charge of corporations now and in charge of through the HR department, all right? And so through the HR department, white women and Jews are purposely excluding white men, are purposely accusing white men erroneously of whatever they want to try to fire them, are purposely flooding all these companies with brownoids and blacks because that makes the white woman happy that she's sabotaging white men, and the Jew who's paying her to do it is loving it all the way to the bank. And it doesn't even have to be all the way to the bank physically with money. They'll pay the brownoid or the black the same money that it took you 20 years of working there to work your way up to. They'll pay them that starting hiring pay. And they'll give them a $2,000 bonus they never gave you for hiring on. And all they'll do is say, oh, sorry, we had to because the economy and inflation and couldn't get anybody to work for us. when really they're turning down qualified white guy after qualified white guy. Even unqualified white guys, they would never look at those. Those go straight in the trash. And the qualified ones, they go off to the side on a shelf in case the company's about to go underwater and they need a white guy to save them. So, but to get all the way, to complete this all the way, the whole package, and I'm about to show you another part of it right here. I'm about to go to another tab, and I'm going to show you another part of this whole explanation. But this is, what Blue Columbine said is absolutely true. It's when they reveal themselves, this is them letting us know, hey, we're here, we're your enemies, we're here to destroy you, we're already conquering you, we're laughing in your face, and so I had another thought I wanted to say about it, but I'm starting to like short circuit because I have several thoughts going here all at once. I'm going to go back into the chat and read a couple more comments, and then we're going to move on to this other tab because I don't want to muddy up the stream tonight. All right. Of course, a lot are expected reactions to what I was having to read earlier. Camo said, when they let us say stuff, then the time is coming when we can't say stuff anymore. Absolutely a great observation because, after all, they have, as you have noticed, for the last year or so, or really since October 7th, but a whole year after that is when we really started ramping it up and pushing it. They have basically stopped. They have completely relaxed YouTube, where now, granted, I say that, but I haven't been posting videos. And you notice a lot of us for the last year or so have been being able to push the information we've been pushing through live streaming because they don't get bothered as bad. And LP is even smarter about his. He deletes his as soon as it's over. As soon as he runs his You Can't Stop Progress. Now, granted, he's also doing it so that people who didn't make it right on time and watch it for free on YouTube, will have to pay on a paywall or something perhaps to go watch it. Or maybe I'm talking out my ass completely and you can watch it for free on Rumble after the fact, and he's only doing it so YouTube won't delete it. But I'm sure that is one of the primary reasons he's doing it, is so that he won't get strikes on his channel and have those deleted from his channel, because they really do. If you post videos, they'll still delete those, I imagine. But then again, I say that, but then I look all over YouTube, and for the last year or so, every actual real video, not live streams, a whole bunch of real videos times millions of them say Jews, Zionists, da-da-da, And so because they have to let the lefties of our side be anti-Jew right now, because that's what they taught them to be and told them to be for the last few years, they are having to let them do their thing on YouTube. And what that's allowed us to do is do our thing on YouTube also. And granted, they could have been cherry picking us all along the way all this time, and they could have already deleted and purged all of us right-wingers, and then all the lefties would be on there raging against the Jews, and there'd be no right-wingers on YouTube. And they really could do it that way. But because of prophecy, okay, they don't mind that they are the purveyors of prophecy. They like it, actually. And so they are just allowing us to talk about them also now to some degree, because this also, again, it allows them to also create their laws against people who speak against them. They go, look at all these right-wing assholes, these evil white people that are constantly talking about Jews and Zionism now and talking bad about Judaism. And so we need anti-Semite laws and da-da-da and all this. And so that's step one of the communist, that's communism. Step one is once they start taking over, the first thing they do is ban any form of anti-Semitism or anything that could be perceived as such. All right. So that's a great observation there that Camo made, that now they're letting us say what we usually could never say before, and pretty soon we won't be able to say ever again publicly without being deleted. So get your speech out there while you can now and make yourself a martyr for Jesus Christ, because I promise you, if you don't, you're not going to have a high seat in heaven like you would if you're a Sabbath-keeping white person who speaks out against the Jews all the way through this 7 years of this final time. All right. So, Camo said, when they let us say stuff, then the time is coming when we can't say stuff anymore. Absolutely a great observation because, after all, they have basically stopped. They have completely relaxed YouTube, because because we're not gonna win the country back, even if in the next 3 years we dupe ourselves into believing we have. Even if Trump starts going full say he starts kicking the Puerto Ricans out because of the Super Bowl thing, and say he starts banning blacks because of all the crap they've done, and say he starts freaking just going full right wing, he will make the whole white MAGA thing worship him a million times harder if he ever does that, right? That would be a total way to sucker all the MAGA people into staying with him, ride or die till the end. And it'll even fool the very elect, which would be us who know that he's not on our side and who know that he's been allowing the destruction of white people to continue on unabated and even accelerated it, I would say. He will fool even some of us, the very elect, the highest in God's hierarchy. Because if we started seeing Trump be pro-white openly and just saying white people and Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior and all the things that we would just like, it would be our wet dream to see Trump say. Now, keep in mind, he may not do any of that. He may just stay dickhead for the Jews the whole time and shit on white people all the way to the end of his 3 years. But either way, I'm just giving you the alternative that he could do. And that would fool even the highest elect, even us, the pro-white people, if he were to do so. But I want you to know that if he does do that, don't let that fool you. Because remember, it says in Revelation that a bad dawn, a bad king, but dawn is king. All right, so dawn, the name dawn means king. So a bad dawn, you don't have to look at the word as a name. Notice it didn't capitalize it, so it's not a name. They just jumbled all the English letters together instead of it saying a bad dawn. And so a bad dawn, or AKA Donald Trump, is going to be liked by all the world. Now, he's already got a whole bunch of shitholers loving him and raging, hooting, hollering for him from all over the place. He's already got a whole bunch of, he's got all the Jews hooting, hollering for him. And remember, the Jews can fool or perceive to the whole world, give off a perception to the whole world that all the world loves Trump. The only reason they're allowing the world to see that lefties don't like Trump right now is because they want to keep the civil war, the infighting, the battle, the chaos. And what they're doing is they're stealing more and more trillions of our dollars, and they're building their third temple. And what we don't realize is the third temple is already built or being built. It's just not being built in the fashion that we think it's being built. We think that it's going to be rebuilt right there where the wall is they're always kissing. When in fact, they're probably building it underground. They have Elon Musk boring the tunnels down deep underneath. And so they will build the temple underground, deep in the earth, where they think if they hide deep in the earth, God won't be able to destroy it when Christ returns. And no weaponry that mankind has ever made would be able to be used to destroy it in case white people were to ever get wind of it. And therefore, the temple is probably already built. And if it's not finished, it's probably almost finished. And they have a building set up in Israel where they have all of this furniture that's supposedly made and supposedly ready to be put in the third temple once it is finally built and finished. But I say that that is a decoy. That's a thing set up to dupe white people into believing the third temple isn't built. As long as that furniture stays there, any typical conservative who would ever hear me say that the third temple is built and it's just deep under the ground, they would go, yeah, but that can't be the case because I've personally stood in the place in Israel where they have all the furniture made that they plan on putting in the third temple once it's built. And it's all still there in that building, waiting on the third temple. Meanwhile, Jews have endless trillions of dollars of our money. They can just make up money out of thin air. So all they have to do, it's nothing for them to buy a building that they own in Israel anyway and just dedicate a whole portion of the building with a bunch of freaking furniture and just declare, yeah, once we get the temple built, this is all for the third temple. These are all holy things made for the temple once it's built, once it's finished. Meanwhile, all of that just stays there permanently. And it keeps the goy cucked, you know. So, let me see what else I saw here. Evan Smith said, they are data logging us and letting us say stuff so they can use it as evidence against us in the near future, as evidence that we need to be killed by their black mutineers. That's exactly right. You're exactly right. And that's why I mentioned earlier that all of you people need to be on record that you are for Jesus Christ and for white people first and only, and that you disagree with Jews and all of their imposition against white people. You better make it known digitally in the world, because God sees it. God sees me talking to you all right now. He sees me sitting here in my room at my laptop. He sees every one of you tuning in right now. He sees every one of you who tune into this later after the fact. God has every hair on your head counted. And every time you shed one, he adjusts his number. You cannot even fathom the intelligence, the knowledge, the wisdom, the omnipresence that our holy God has. And even though he has turned his face from us for now because of the evil in the world, his Holy Ghost is here. And the Holy Ghost is God, might as well be. Same thing as Jesus. When Jesus was here, he said, I and the Father am one. It doesn't mean he's God. It doesn't mean he isn't praying to God. It doesn't mean when he's saying our Father in heaven that he's talking about himself. He's talking about our Father in heaven. He's the Son of God. But wherever he goes, him being there is as though God is there. Because there is no disagreement between him and God. There is no decision that would not be made by Jesus Christ that God would not have made his exactly the same, his exact self. So anywhere Jesus Christ stands, there God is. Anywhere the Holy Ghost is, there God is. The Holy Ghost is with all of you at all times. The Holy Ghost is with me right now, watching me talk to you, and is with me at all times. If he was not, I would already have been dead long ago, as would all of you have. So, this is the final 7 years. This is year number 1. It is time for all of us to make ourselves known to the Jews in this digital world that we are for Jesus Christ and that we are for white people, the Adamites, Israel. And that we are not for anyone else. We're not for the beasts, and we're not for our enemies. And we're not for any of their agendas that work against us. You need to pick your side. No more fluffing around with Trump conservatism while he obeys every whim of our arch enemies. And no becoming a leftist cuck, which is no different than being a Trump conservative. Just because you want to counter the Trump conservatives issue. Just because lefties are openly, bravely, wildly against the Jews right now in public. They are not. You will notice that every one of these pro-Palestine rallies is led by loud, noisy Jewish females with bullhorns. And that's to control them from saying anything bad about the Jews. So that's why you don't see any of them out there going, hey, hey, ho, ho, Jews have all got to go. You don't ever see that at any pro-Palestine rally. Pro-Palestine rallies. Yet not one single sign that Jews need to go. Kick the Jews out of our country. Kick the Jews out of our fucking government. Not one sign anywhere, ever? Come on now. Think about any other leftist protest. They have signs and all the sickening, like they'll go all the way as far extreme as can possibly be gone, thinking up, they'll do abortions of baby Jesus in the middle of the street during parades. They walk through the streets naked with little kids, their dicks out. They will do anything. But pro-Palestine rallies where they're fighting ICE and cops and all this shit, and not one fucking sign anywhere that says F the Jews? Not one sign anywhere that says kick the fucking Jews out of our government? Not one. And even if you do find one in a whole pro-Palestine rally, you'll only find that one. And guess what? As soon as everybody else at that rally happens to see what that sign says, they'll get rid of them. And they'll tear that sign up. Because they know ultimately that they are not against the Jews. They know the Jews are who are pro-multiculti, anti-white. They know they're the purveyors of all the things that destroy white people. And so they side with that. So they are in this weird balance where they have to pretend they're pro-Palestine but not against the Jews. Anyhow, top flight security. Hello. God bless. Though I didn't like your comment you said the other night when you said, "What the fuck, Florida?" during a chat on LP stream. You said, "What the fuck, Florida?" when Florida was requiring English to be used only to pass driver's license. That's absolutely what should be only allowed in the entirety of our country. So I'm not sure why you said, "What the fuck, Florida?" about that. I'll give you a chance to explain if you like. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. But that was very odd. I found that very odd and almost Jewish of you to say, "What the fuck, Florida?" about Florida requiring English only to be used to get a driver's license. There should be nothing but English spoken in our entire country, ever and always. All right. Moving on to the next tab, y'all. Here we go. Y'all ready? This is Rabbi Emanuel Rabinovich's speech from January 12th, 1952 at their emergency World Jewish Conference about the end of World War II. And this is basically their new game plan for how they were wanting. Now, keep in mind, you got to understand as I read this, that this is coming from the mind of a Jew at the time in 1952. They didn't know the internet yet. They didn't know jet engines yet, even. They didn't know rocketry yet. They didn't know a lot of things, all right? And so, well, they knew jet engines maybe, but they didn't know like rocketry. They didn't know a lot of things yet. Okay, there's a lot of technology had not occurred yet. A lot of social things had not ever occurred yet. The hippie movement hadn't come for 20 more years after that. Lots of things didn't happen for a long time till way after this. So this dude is operating from a very crude. Okay, you thought they said the opposite. Okay, God bless. I'm sorry. I don't want to get accusing you of being a yitty diddler. I was just thinking, whoa, man, that's not a thing a pro-white would say about hearing that Florida was requiring only English only. So, all right, God bless then. Cool beans, and God bless you. I'm glad you're here. Didn't mean to call you out like that. I happened to see that the other night, and I can't respond to you on his chats. LP has my chat hidden, so I can comment all night on the chat. No one can see it. And what's funny is when I do put a comment, it doesn't get taken away, like how you see chat comments get taken away. Mine stays right in the chat, where I think if I was a dumbass and didn't notice to look on the screen and see that I'm not on any of his chat playback on the screen, that I would just think I'm in the chat. But in fact, I'm not. I'm hidden by his mods. And I've asked him in the comment section to tell his mods to unhide me, but I don't even know if he'd even know how to do that. But or if he'd ever care to anyway. But and you know, one of his mods probably saw me putting something about Jews or something about only white people or Israel, only white people or mankind, and only now is he becoming based enough to accept and understand that I've been right all along about that. But perhaps a year ago or more, or 3 years ago for all I know, some mod of his, who is still way more cucked than they should be, saw something I put in the chat and went, "Ugh," and hid me, and now I've been stuck hidden all along. Otherwise, I would have inquired with you that night during the chat with you, but I just couldn't. All right. So, again, this is from 1952. So a lot of things he says here didn't come true in the time frame and the fashion that he was pushing the Jews worldwide to try to accomplish by said date in his lifetime. All right. So as you read this and you see, yeah, but this didn't happen and that never happened, and it's because the plan didn't work out exactly the way they hoped originally. All right. America was still 92% white all through the time back then, and a lot of social changes happened and different upheavals and backfires and blowback and all these different things happened that threw this guy's time frame and game plan off slightly. But this is still their plan. And when we get to the end of this, you're going to hear their agenda against white people. All of this is their plan against white people, by the way. Every single bit of this from the very beginning sentence. Okay? So here we go. A report from Europe carried by the following speech of Rabbi Emanuel Rabinovich before a special meeting of the Emergency Council of European Rabbis. There's no such thing as European rabbis. They are Jews occupying Europe. In Budapest, Hungary, January 12th, 1952. Here he goes. And I wish I could talk like a stupid Jew the whole time in the stupid Jew voice, because I totally would. I'd be like, "Greetings, my children." And I'd do the whole thing that way if I could just do every word perfect like they talk. Anyway, here we go. Greetings, my worthless mongrel children. You have been called to her to recapitulate the principal steps of our new program, our new anti-white program is what he means. As you know, we have hoped to have 20 years between wars to consolidate their great gains, which we made from World War II. But our increasing numbers in certain vital areas is arousing opposition to us, and we must now work with every means at our disposal to precipitate World War III within 5 years. See, never happened in that time frame, but this was his plan. He was pushing for them to try to cause by 1957. They did not precipitate World War III, but they did instigate the Korean War when on June 25th, 1950, they ordered the North Korean army to launch a surprise attack on South Korea. On June 26th, the UN Security Council condemned the invasion as aggression and ordered withdrawal of the invading forces. Then, on June 27th, 1950, our Jewish American president, Truman, notice here they called him their Jewish American president, Truman, ordered air and naval units into action to enforce the UN order. Not achieving their full goals, they then instigated the overthrow of South Vietnam. No Diem Diem, or Diem, premier under Bao Dai, who disposed the monarch in 1955 and established a republic with himself as president. Diem used strong U.S. backing to create an authoritarian regime, which soon grew into a full-scale war, with Jewish pressure escalating U.S. involvement. All right, here he goes on with the rest of his speech here. The goal for which we have striven so concertedly for 3,000 years is at last within our reach, and because its fulfillment is so apparent, it behooves us to increase our efforts and our caution tenfold. I can safely promise you that before 10 years have passed, our race, does it say religion? No, their race. They are a race. And they know they are a race. Don't ever let any cucked idiot tell you that Jews are not a race. There it is, right there out of their own face. Our race will take its rightful place in the world, with every Jew a king and every Gentile a slave. And applause roared from the gathering. You remember the success of our propaganda campaign during the 1930s in Germany, which aroused anti-American passions in Germany. At the same time, we were arousing anti-German passions in America. a campaign which culminated in the Second World War. A similar propaganda campaign is now being waged intensively throughout the world. A war fever is being worked up in Russia by an incessant anti-American barrage, while a nationwide anti-communist scare is sweeping America. This campaign is forcing all the smaller nations to choose between the partnership of Russia or an alliance with the United States. Our most pressing problem at the moment is to inflame the lagging militaristic spirit of the Americans. The failure of the Universal Military Training Act was a great setback to our plans, but we are assured that a suitable measure will be rushed through Congress immediately after the 1952 elections. The Russians, as well as the Asiatic peoples, are well under control of their control and offer no objections to war, the wars they want. But we must wait to secure the Americans. This we hope to do with the issue of anti-Semitism, which worked so well in uniting the Americans against Germany. We are counting heavily on reports of anti-Semitic outrages in Russia to whip up indignation in the United States and produce a front of solidarity against the Soviet power. This is for all those, blame Russia cucks. Simultaneously, to demonstrate to Americans the reality of anti-Semitism, we will advance through new sources large sums of money to outspokenly anti-Semitic elements in America to increase their effectiveness. And we shall, I wish they'd send some my way. Hey, Jews, send a large sum of money to me. I'll happily be outspokenly anti-Semitic. And we shall stage anti-Semitic outbreaks in several of their largest cities. There's your Proud Boys March. There's your January 6th. This will serve the double purpose of exposing reactionary sectors in America, that's us, which then can be silenced, and of welding the United States into a devoted anti-Russian unit. Note, that is Protocol of Zion number 9, paragraph 2, and it states that anti-Semitism is controlled by them. At the time of this speech, they had already commenced their campaign of anti-Semitism in Czechoslovakia. Continuing on with his speech. Within 5 years, this program will achieve its objective, the Third World War, which will surpass in destruction all previous contests. Israel, of course, will remain neutral, when both sides are devastated and exhausted, we will arbitrate, sending our control commissions, there's your CC for 33, into all wrecked countries. This war will end for all time our struggle against the Gentiles. We will openly reveal our identity with the races of Asia and Africa. They've already done that. I can state with assurance that the last generation of white children are now being born. Our control commissions will, in the interests of peace and wiping out interracial tensions, as they'll call it, forbid the whites to mate with whites. The white women must cohabit with members of the dark races, the white men with black females. Thus, the white race will disappear, for the mixing of the dark with the white means the end of the white man, and our most dangerous enemy will become only a memory. We shall embark upon an era of 10,000 years of peace and of plenty, the Pax Judaica, that's what that name means, and our race will rule undisputed over the world. Our superior intelligence, laughable, will easily enable us to retain mastery over a world of dark races. And so here is, he took only one main question from Q&A, and here was the question. Rabbi Rabinovich, what about the various religions after the Third World War? And here's his answer. there will be no more religions. Not only would the existence of a priest class remain a constant danger to our rule, but belief in an afterlife would give spiritual strength to irreconcilable elements in many countries. That's our faith in God. If white people have faith in our God, then we have something to look forward to, something to lean on, someone to reach for, some hope to have separate from the rule of the Jews. And what would it do? It would enable them to resist us. We will, however, retain the rituals and customs of Judaism as the mark of our hereditary ruling class, strengthening our racial laws so that no Jew will be allowed to marry outside of our race, not religion, race, not political establishment, race, not state, race. Nor will any stranger be accepted by us. There's your Trump family. There's your Ivanka that denounced Jesus Christ for no fucking reason. There's your Trump's stupid ass who gave his whole family away, cucked all of his kids away to Jews for no fucking reason. Because right here you see that no stranger is ever accepted by them. And that was their plan all along, and it's their plan for the future as well. There's never a time where it hasn't been their plan. Note, Protocol of Zion, number 17, paragraph 2 states, now that freedom of conscience has been declared everywhere as a result of their efforts, they have previously stated, only years divide us from the moment of the complete wrecking of that hated Christian religion. As to other religions, we shall have still less difficulty with them. And that's in Protocol of Zion, number 17, paragraph 2. Anyway, so here is the finish of his answer to that question. We may have to repeat the grim days of World War II, where we were forced to let the Hitlerite bandits sacrifice some of our people in order that we may have adequate documentation and witnesses to legally justify our trial and execution of the leaders of America and Russia as war criminals after we have dictated the peace. So you see right there, their whole plan is to cause two white countries to destroy each other, America and Russia. This is why Americans need to stop blaming Russians, stop being stupid anti-Russia cucks. Okay? Russians are white Christians. Just because Putin is a Jew obeyer doesn't mean that Russians are not white Christians. And so, what do they plan on doing? They plan on using America and Russia against each other, destroying each other in a World War III scenario. And then they will come in after the fact, completely undamaged, and say, we're going to be the arbiters of your peace treaty. And we're going to dictate, like, how everything needs to go, since neither of you white countries can keep yourselves behaved. And then what will they do? They will have a new Nuremberg trial, where they will put all the leaders of America and Russia all on trial as war criminals, put them all to death, and it says it right here. I am sure you will need little preparation for such a duty, for sacrifice has always been the watchword of our people, and the death of a few thousand lesser Jews, did you see that there? The death of a few thousand lesser Jews, that's all they lost in World War II, a few thousand lesser Jews. In exchange for world leadership is indeed a small price to pay. To convince you of the certainty of that leadership, let me point out to you how we have turned all of the inventions of the white man into weapons against him. His printing presses and radios are the mouthpieces of our desires, and his heavy industry manufactures the instruments which he sends out to arm Asia and Africa against himself. Our interests in Washington are greatly extended to the Point 4 program, and it's also called the Colombo Plan, for developing industry in backward areas of the world, so that after the industrial plants and cities of Europe and America are destroyed by atomic warfare, the whites can offer no resistance against the large masses of the dark races who will maintain an unchallenged technological superiority. And so, with the vision of world victory before you, go back to your white countries that you invade and occupy and intensify your good work until that approaching day when Israel will reveal herself in all her glorious destiny as the light of the world. And that's the end of his speech. And there's another note. Every statement made by Rabinovich is based on agenda contained in the Protocols of Zion. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go back because I want you to see that you can get this yourself. Now, I read this off Internet Archive, and I don't recommend you get it from here and show anyone because it was posted by a Jew, a female Jew with the same last name, Rabinovich, and after she posted his speech, she's mocking us and taking the piss out of the speech and everything as though it wasn't a big deal, or she's like, we better watch out, guys. I guess we're doing World War III, hor, and all this. But meanwhile, when you type in 1952 Emanuel Rabinovich speech 1952, the very first link it offers you, the very first thing, is the real actual government, the CIA.gov website. And right here you see 15 October 1952. This is Emanuel Rabinovich's speech. And if I were to click on this, it will download the PDF, but I already have it downloaded to other devices, so I don't want to do it to this one too. But you're welcome anytime to download this document. And if you don't trust downloading it on your phone and on your personal device, buy yourself a cheap little $100 tablet. They're probably cheaper than that now. You can probably buy a 7-inch tablet, a little fake iPad mini or whatever, but it's like the Android version or something. I don't like anything Apple products, so I don't mean fake iPad. Like, you see what I mean? Or you know what I mean, right? I like Android. I don't like Apple anything. So, but I just mean a small tablet. You can buy like a small Android tablet for probably like $50 or $70 and use that to download things like this, right? So that you can see for yourself. There's no bot installed in it. There's no virus installed in it. It's just a PDF download from CIA.gov. And it is not posted on CIA.gov as though it's a hoax or a lie or didn't happen or right-wing conspiracy theory stuff that's being spread around. No, it's posted there as documented fact that this speech occurred, that this event occurred, and that this is the guy that said what he said at the speech as the keynote speaker. So, CIA.gov, there it is, 1952, Emanuel Rabinovich speech, 1952. It's all you got to type on Google, and it brings it up for you right away. No need to read it from that other spot where I did, that I only did just for ease of use and showing you on the screen. Okay, that's all I have for you all tonight. I wasn't going to do a long stream tonight. I'll go ahead and hang out with you all in the chat for a little bit, and then I'm going to shut her down. So let me hop up here and just kind of mosey back up through the chat and see what all people have said. Also, let me just make sure there's not any new noticers. Okay, I haven't seen any new noticers, so that's all right. Top Flight Security Craig said someone attacked Tommy's wife the other day walking the dog. I guess maybe you're talking about Tommy, what's his face over in Europe. He's a wall kisser, though, so I don't feel bad for him. Robinson, that's who it is, Tommy Robinson. He's probably a Jew, to be honest with you, just LARPing as a white guy. Camo said, stay white. God bless you, brother. See you next one. You're our only guy out of all of them. I appreciate that. I thank you very much. I'm sorry you had to go for tonight, but, oh, no, he kept talking. Okay, I thought maybe you're saying you had to go for the night, but, hey, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much. Glazing Putin, no, definitely not. He's a wall kisser, 100%. So let's see here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Camo, yeah. Please don't misunderstand. Maybe you typed all that before you let me continue explaining. But no, Putin is not our guy. He's definitely not our guy. I'm just explaining that Russians are white Christian people also, you know. Same thing they dupe us about with hating either Ukrainians. They got Russians hating Ukrainians. Ukrainians are just Russians. They're just white people, Russians. I used to live next door to Ukrainians. They were gorgeous, beautiful white people, the most beautiful white people your eyes would almost ever behold. And it's just a horrific shame. And I've met a ton of Russians too, because actually they've visited the areas where I used to live. And so I actually met a bus full of Russians, 2 busfuls actually of Russians, got off this bus and they were walking around this trail that I was walking around too, around a lake. And wow, they're such beautiful people. I mean, it's unbelievable how beautiful white people are when they're not destroyed and ruined and driven into oblivion by non-whites living all around us. And I realized that a lot of those Russians, keep in mind, most of those Russians have a very low yearly income compared to us. And even the ones who come here for a trip or anything, they still live far below what Americans enjoy income-wise. And I mean, they live, you know, very low income in many cases and still are classy and upkept, you know. And are there people who are despicable living type Russians out in the middle of nowhere? Yes, of course. I've seen those. We have people of ours over here in America that live that raggedy as well and all of that. But, you know, we have been destroyed by vaccines, by non-whites stealing 19 or 17 or something trillion dollars of our money every year, not counting what the Jews steal from us. That's probably another few trillion. And, you know, you just add it all up and it's white people here are just decimated. So when you see, you know, 2 busfuls of Russians get off a bus in America, they are going to be upper class Russians. You know, obviously poor Russians couldn't get a trip here, but they're not always necessarily super wealthy. Even a wealthy Russian over there isn't really, you know, rich like so many rich people here are. I mean, a wealthy Russian over there is someone who's got a couple $100,000, you know, and that's it. And they're considered super rich, you know. And here in America, that would just be considered, you know, well, hell, there's freaking random blacks that have that much money. So, and that aren't even famous. So, you know, it's just, there's a big difference between Russia and America and as far as that kind of thing goes. And when you witness Russians walking past you in America, the women are just stunning. It was amazing. I was blown away, you know. But I've heard bad things about Russian girls because they've grown up in an all-white world. They think of brownoids and blacks as quite a novelty to explore. So I would not ever date a Russian girl because of that, because I wouldn't trust her to not be cucked into wanting to try out and experiment with the brownoids and blacks because they've never been around any. And that's a big problem with some of our white girls when they first experience blacks, they first ever see blacks, you know, like when blacks were sent up to Sweden and sent to Poland and all these places. Yes, Poland, by the way. One nigger in Poland claims he gave over 100 Polish girls HIV. So don't think you're safe going to Poland to find yourself a girl. And that's the problem, is these white girls of ours who've never been around any non-whites at all, because they are been blessed to live in an all-white country. Once the Jews, and the Jews knew this, that once they sent blacks and brownoids to those countries, that our white girls would be intrigued, because anything new or different or strange or bizarre or anything that's not what they're used to seeing every day of their lives is interesting to them. And they think of them really no different than an animal, like a little cuddly toy, like a teacup dog or something else. It's as intriguing to them as seeing a new animal for the first time they've never seen. You know what I mean? And so that quickly turns into, oh, the guy's hitting on me. Oh, he's touching me. Oh, he's saying nice things to me. Oh, he's smiling at me. Oh, well, he's kind of like a white guy. I mean, he's got arms and legs and he's upright and he talks like what? I mean, I guess kind of like a white guy. It's basically like a white guy, right? And they reason all that in their head in seconds of time. The first time this non-white comes up and starts hitting on them and talking to them and smiling at them and all this crap. And they just allow themselves to be reasoned into cuckery, you know? And it's because of their intrigue of something different. They're just not used to seeing non-whites, and when they finally do have non-whites in front of them, they immediately start being hit on by the non-whites. Meanwhile, white guys are never allowed to hit on white girls, so everywhere they go, and they also will shame white guys when white guys try to talk to them, you know? So then when this non-white comes up after they haven't been hit on for months and months and months or whatever, per their own demand, finally they have this non-white who looks interesting and weird because they're different come up, and he's smiling and he's, hey girl, and you so pretty and da-da-da, and you so white and so pretty and all this shit, saying all this crap at them. And what do? They go, oh wow, and they get all fucking wowed by it. And next thing you know, they're getting freaking laid. Or they're being defiled, I should say. You know, and the freaking non-white's getting laid. So this is why we cannot have any non-whites in our country. And I realize that I just gave you an explanation that those girls who never have any non-whites in our country are most susceptible to that. But that's why you have to never allow any non-whites in your country ever. As long as our white women are never exposed to non-whites, there will never be a non-white for them to be tempted by in the first place. This is why God said, be ye separate. Be a peculiar people that keeps yourself separate from the beast, separate from all of them. Because I don't want your women defiled. I don't want your children devoured. You know, devouring doesn't just mean that our children that we have with white women, and so we have white children, that they're devoured. It also means that your grandchildren that were supposed to be born white were never born, or were born a mongrel, perhaps, because your daughter, you were a sports cuck, watching Afro ball in front of her, cheering her on to be a dancer and in cheerleading. And she cheered on Noggs the whole time, and you cheered her on to do so. And wouldn't you know, she ended up with a freaking mongrel baby from Tyrone Jones. Number 39 linebacker. And she's a mud shark for the rest of her life. Ghetto talking, stupid wigger chick. All tatted up. Another fugly mongrel baby coming along the way. That's how your children are devoured. Not just was your child devoured, but your grandchildren never came to be. Because all the grandchildren she's spitting out aren't your grandchildren. Those are just mongrel, fugly abominations that have no relation to your family. Understand this. If you have a brown grandkid, that is not your grandkid. Stop telling yourself, oh, yeah, it is. It's my daughter's kid. And no, it is not your grandkid. That's a fugly, mongrel abomination that is only scheduled by God for eternal doom, eternal death. That's the only thing that poor little innocent critter, he didn't ask to be born. Too fucking bad. God didn't ask him to be born either. And God didn't want him to be born brown from a brownoid. So, because he's the seed of a beast, he is an abomination. She is an abomination. And she's going in eternal death. Period. Dot. Doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. Doesn't matter if you care or don't. Your fugly mongrel grandbabies are dead meat. If you mated with a non-white and produced a fugly mongrel child, your fugly mongrel daughter or son is dead meat. They are not going to be in heaven. And if you don't like that, you're not going to be there either. God has a way. God has rules. God told you those rules. If you didn't know the rules because you were ignorant, God winks at it. Okay? So you were young, you accidentally knocked up some third worlder, had yourself a mongrel kid that's brown, that can't blush, that has black hair, mongrel-oid eyes. God's gonna wink at your malfunction because of your ignorance. But once you know that you weren't supposed to create a child like that, an abomination, with a non-white like that, if you do it again, then you're damned right along with your mongrel kids. And that's not my opinion. That's what our Holy Bible says. So anyone who has a problem with that has a problem with what our Holy Bible says, not me. I'm just reporting to you what it says. And then let's see here. What else we got tonight? Blue Columbine said, yeah, growing up in general, I never got talked to by white guys. I didn't get it. I know I'm attractive, so it always made me confused and overlooked. But yeah, it's some kind of social conditioning. I hate this. My siblings... Hold on, I'm walking, so I can't read as well because I'm bobbing my phone up and down. I hate this. My siblings have mixed kids, and I am so deeply sad for them and our family, and they just don't understand. It's like suicide. Their family will never be what we are ever again, forever. Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, Jews understand all of this. They understood right out of the gate that all they had to do was get one kid in the family to become a nigger lover or, side with or start sleeping with brownoids of whatever type, Mexicans or whatever stylish one they can make stylish in their area, whether it's Puerto Ricans or whatever, Cubans, depending on where they live. That they would end up making mongrel kids, that would cause disruption in the white family, which of course it should and does. And, this ruins the family's image. The family's 5,000 years of appearance are trashed in one mistake of the family, of just one idiot of the family being duped. And it's unfortunate, but when it happens in your family, you have to be a bulwark. You have to be the rock. You have to be the unmovable stone foundation. You cannot waver with the wind. You cannot be, you can't build your house on sand. Okay? You have to stay firm, solid as a rock. What's wrong is wrong, and what's wrong is whatever God says is wrong. So, you stand on that, period, dot. It doesn't matter what anybody in your family ever says. Doesn't matter what any of that ever. That's what the Jesus being a wedge between you and a family member is all about. If you have a family member who disagrees with God's way, it's not your job. And in fact, it's the opposite of your job. You're expected not to kowtow to their dissent. You don't yield to their failure. You don't yield to their misunderstanding of our Holy Bible. You don't yield to their disagreement with our God who created all of us. You side with our God. That idiot in your family can't give you eternal life. But our holy God can, and that idiot in your family can't give you protection from eternal damnation. But our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ can. And we already know that anywhere Jesus is, there God is also. For him and God are one. So this is, this is a critical problem that a lot of our families are going to face, especially now. You know, we didn't have this problem 30 years ago like we have now. It did still exist. You know, it did exist, but it was very, very few and far between. Very anomalous situations. Now it's becoming, you know, they've forced it to be fashionable. They've artificially forced it to be fashionable for so long that many of our white girls have been caught up into it, you know, across the country or even across Europe, and even Russians, like I said, and Poles, believe it or not. I mean, it's so bad now that white guys have to be very particular. Like, we have to be the picky people now, not white women anymore. White women have thrown their pickiness carte blanche away. Now it's white men who have to be picky and have to be very careful who we pick as who we're even going to sleep with, even at all. Forget if you're wanting to date a person or marry them or any of that. Even if you just wanted to sleep with a white girl, you have to, like, I mean, what are your chances that she hasn't mud sharked once? And we already understand what that means. Once a mud shark, always a mud shark. There is no learning your lesson and, oh, I take it all back. No. There is none of that. That's like a guy complaining, oh, I gave head one time to a dude and what, now I'm gay? Yes. Yes, you are. From now on, forever. You can never live it down. So, now, for some of our girls who didn't know, who truly didn't know, and were duped at a young age and whatever, and didn't really know that it was wrong in their heart of hearts, God knows their heart of hearts. Okay? He's going to know which girls truly did not realize what they were doing was wrong versus the one, because remember, God's put his law in our hearts. It's written in our hearts. So, that means 99% of these white girls who sleep with a non-white know in their heart of hearts that what they're doing is wrong by sleeping with a non-white. They know it's unnatural. It's not right. They know that God would be displeased. They wouldn't do it in front of God. So I say, according to the Holy Bible, that most of them are doomed. I mean, he calls them defiled. So that's it. If they're defiled, that's it. You think something defiled is going to be allowed into heaven? No. So pretty obvious there. And this is, again, because God's going to know in their heart of hearts, each one of them, he knows in their heart of hearts that they knew what they were doing was wrong. And therefore, if they knew it was wrong, they knew it was wrong because God knows that it says it's unnatural. Not because Daddy said so, because God says so. And so, because they know that they were defying what God says is unnatural, what God says is wrong for them to do, they will pay the ultimate price. And that's that. And if they don't, God bless them. If God decides to spare them because their dad was such a faithful Christian, or their son ended up being this, well, no, their son couldn't because he'd be a fugly mongrel. So it'd have to be their dad or their uncle that loved them dearly and helped raise them or knew them really close or what. It'd have to be somebody very immediate who God loves so much that he decides to restore even that defiled female back to that man or woman who loved God so much. But the chances of that are, I would say, 50-50. And that's given a good guesstimate, based on what the Holy Bible says. Because the Bible is very explicit, that only things that are righteous are going to heaven. And how can something that's defiled be righteous? We hear all these cucked Christians talk about, this guy used to be a a murderer, a rapist, and all that, and he turned his life around, gave his life to Jesus, and look at him now. And it's like, no, you don't get to cross certain lines and become a Christian and just be saved and be forgiven of all your sins. It doesn't work like that. You don't get to do certain things and still be forgiven. Christ doesn't just wash any old sin away. Christ is a redeemer. If you do something irredeemable, if you create something irredeemable, it's not redeemable. Christ is in the business of redeeming redeemable things. That's what redemption's all about, redeeming things that are redeemable. If you've committed sins, which you have, and you've confessed them to our Lord, which you have, and he has cleansed you of them and told you don't sin again, and you haven't, then you're good, and you're operating in righteousness. And therefore, when the harvest time comes, you, being a not defiled person who is functioning in a righteous path, functioning as intended, is pure for the harvest. But something defiled can't be undefiled. If you let a plant stay out in the freeze and it dies, it's done for. Yeah, there's an anomalous plant here and there that comes back from it, but I'm talking about a type of plant that doesn't. Defiling is defiling. And it doesn't mean it's misfiled something or rearranged the files of something, therefore they could be rearranged back and refiled and put and filed properly. No, defiled means ruined. That's what it means. In our Holy Bible, it means they will ruin our women. Non-whites ruin our women. And they ruin them by having sex with them. That's the act that causes our white women to be ruined. So, let me relocate here. Go to another spot. Actually, I was already at another spot. I'm going back to the original, to the laptop here. But let me get back to the chat. So I don't really need to do anything on the machine here. I'm just going to let it sit. Blue Columbine said, fucked up stuff is happening because there just isn't enough shelter with all the nons here, and they are making it impossible to live independently on a single income if you have a normal job. Yeah, and they're really doing that in America a lot more too now. I mean, it's getting to the point where even white people in America are having to spend enormous money to live, in a domicile at all. And that expense is so great, like you said, that, you almost have to have roommates. I mean, unless you make enough money, of course that's the case. Unless you make enough money, you have to have roommates. But I mean, unless you make a pretty decent amount of money in America, you can't live alone anymore. It's very difficult to live alone now. You have to either find somewhere that's like very inexpensive to live, which is almost impossible in America now. And the cheaper of a place you find is usually further away from anywhere there is to work. So, you might find somewhere for, say, $400 cheaper to live out far away from town, but you'll spend more than $400 a month driving to and from town just to get to work. And, in Europe, I don't even know how Europeans are surviving. I don't know how you guys have not already just totally taken over your government by hand already and just physically and captured every single politician. And I just don't know how y'all haven't managed to do it yet, how you're still even surviving without doing it, because I look over there at Europe and I know exactly what you mean about, your places there are enormously expensive. There's limited work. Now it's being given only to invaders, and, all of y'all's money's being totally hemorrhaged away. And that's exactly what we're experiencing in America. But Americans already had enough wealth built up among white people in certain areas and certain groups of white people and stuff that not enough white people are alarmed yet. And that's why huge swaths of Europeans in y'all's villages and everywhere, small towns and stuff across Europe, you know, the whole village of white people rises up because it's obvious that they're being overtaken and overwhelmed and invaded and being conquered and destroyed. And here in America, America is so vast, it's so huge that you can't even see busloads of blacks be brought in, busloads of, you know, Mexicans flown in to airports. And they fly them into the airports here, which I'm sure they do that there too. But that's how they flood our country, is they flood us with jumbo jet fools. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't even know how Europeans are surviving at all. I mean, that's the honest truth. I don't. Not only that, just knowing how much they rape people over there to have a vehicle with all the emissions crap and inspection garbage and rules and regulations, and then they charge you. Now they're wanting to charge you by the mile, which I guess they haven't started that yet, hopefully. But and then the ULEZ things, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just can't even believe the oppression that y'all are under in Europe. It's horrifically sickening, and we're under the same thing. It's just not as openly that we're under it because we have our First Amendment they haven't got rid of, and they're feverishly trying to figure out a way to do that so that they can then have us exactly in the position y'all are in where you get arrested if you make a post about anything. And then, yeah, he said, that's what I'm saying. You have to have roommates, and they end up being brown most of the time. That's what woke me up. Yeah, I would never have a brown roommate. You can forget about that horse shit. I sleep in a dadgum ditch, or I buy a piece of shit car and live in it like it's my house, or anything I would do before I live with any brownoids. That's a solid fact right there. I'd take my butt to wherever I had to go. And if I had, and this is a real truth, real talk, if I saw that I was in a place where I had nowhere to live except for around brownoids, I would be the F up out of there. And I mean, I would be out of there on foot if I had to. I would literally just start walking, like some shit you see in a movie where they're like, oh yeah, Timmy, he just started walking. He had his backpack on and he just started walking and he just kept going that way and never stopped. And that's literally what I would do. I would be like that penguin story or whatever. I would just keep walking. And I would never stop walking until I got the hell away from that place, you know, and I would be somewhere else around more white people. And I realized that this time of year, that's not exactly feasible to do for y'all because your weather is horrendous probably right now, like ours has been with the cold and everything. But first chance I got, I'd be gone. And I mean, I wouldn't even stay a night with brownoids, not anywhere. Just I wouldn't do it. I would sleep. I would literally, like, I would go to some 24-hour thing and hide in a corner or find a place to hide in the back of a 24-hour building. And if I get kicked out, oh well, but at least for the hours I'm there till I get caught, I'd be warm and I'd be away from brownoids, and I would just figure out a way. I swear I would. In fact, I even think about those things a lot, you know, even though I'm thankfully blessed to have a home and things. I constantly am observing places where I go and making note to myself that if shit hits the fan, I could hide here. If shit hits the fan, I could sleep here and be warm. If shit hits the fan, I could park here and have a car hiding here and no one would even know that I'm hiding here with a whole car and everything. I think about those things all the time. I'm always scoping my area out subconsciously. I'm not literally out seeking everywhere I can find that would be a great hiding spot or a great camping out spot, you know, and I mean camping like war camping, tactical camping. Great, you know, escape spots, hide a spot for my cars, whatever. I'm always looking for those kind of things subconsciously. And in that way, no matter where I find myself, if shit hits the fan, my brain is already kind of in a mode of scanning my surroundings, figuring out where would be good, where wouldn't. And, you know, there are just so many places you can go hide under bridges. Granted, yes, these days you might find brownoids there, especially since y'all are very limited on bridges over there compared to here. In America, we have bridges freaking everywhere. I mean, all over the place. So there are plenty of bridges you could find where you would manage to find a bridge where there isn't anyone, hopefully. But there, you're more limited. So I don't really know where you'd have to go there. You'd have to be probably a lot more creative than I would have to be in America. But I tell you what, I wouldn't be around brownoids. No way. Especially living with them. There's just absolute no. There's no way at all. So let me scroll back up here, though, and just see. Blue Columbine said, my family would be gone forever if it wasn't for my daughter. She's 4 months, beautiful blue eyes and blonde hair. All right. God bless her. That's amazing. And she's obsessed with their Grand Coons. Oh, gosh. Oh, no, they're talking about my parents are obsessed with their Grand Coons. All right. Yeah, blonde hair, blue eyes. That's awesome. That's great stuff. Colors of Jesus Christ. And, that's the thing is that's why Trump has been selected to be the good guy to do all of this and bring in the final tribulation or the final 7 years, Jacob's trouble, all these things is because, maximum humiliation ritual is to have one of our own, the colors of Christ. And Trump is basically the greatest icon for white people, not because I look up to Trump or think anything great of him or any of that crap. What I mean is he's not short, he's a taller statured guy. He's alpha male persona, even if he's a fag and a freaking Epsteiner and the whole thing. But his aura is, and he puts off to the world, and the world looks at him and sees a, Chad, alpha male, mogs other little freaking non-whites when they meets the other leaders of other countries and stuff, and that is the image, the appearance that white people have in the minds of non-whites. When they look at white guys, they look at us and usually up at us, and in their mind, whatever their little pea brain has going on inside it, part of it is, wow, what it must be like to be this tall, blonde, blue-eyed white guy. And they know that that's what Jesus Christ is like. Granted, he didn't have to be, 6'3" or whatever Trump is to be considered tall, because even someone who was 5'8" was taller than the shitholers back in the day. Most of the shitholers were only like 4'11" when we first encountered them in all the different countries as we explored. So it's only because of white people's food and white people's health care and all this crap that slowly over the years we've basically bred non-whites to growing as tall as we do. But when we first encountered non-whites, they were all just little shrimps. And that includes the blacks, by the way. And you can read that in slave records. None of the blacks were, they were all like 4 foot something, 4'11", 5'2", shit like that. So, and even the blacks you see that are over still in black world nowadays, the only ones that have any kind of height are ones that have had access to white people's help for the last 60 years, So, any of the ones who are completely untouched by us, like that island where anytime we try to interact with them, they fill the side of the plane up with freaking arrows and all that crap. All of them, the tallest one's like 5'2", 5'4" or something. So that's when, when white people aren't interacting with non-whites ever at all in their natural state, they only really grew to about 5 foot tall. 5'2" maybe would be a tall one. So even a white man who was, say, 5'7" or 5'10" or 6'1" would absolutely mog any non-whites back then, But nowadays, Trump is whatever he is, 6'3" or 6'2" or something, which is tall enough to mog most non-white countries' leaders, He wouldn't be as tall. He wouldn't be taller than most European leaders, but he'd be maybe about the same height as some of them. But But as far as, interacting with the non-white countries, which is what we're talking about here, how they compare themselves to us and look at Trump and look at us, he mogs all those people easy. And so, or all those critters easy. So, he's basically, because of that, Trump is like, the icon to non-whites of the ideal American old dude, Yeah, he's not 29 and, cut and all that or whatever, but he's the powerful, most powerful in the world, appears to the world as a billionaire that's super wealthy, models all around him all his life that he was banging and all this stuff. So he's like basically the American dream white guy. And that is the ultimate pinnacle of basically existence on the earth, is trying to be wealthy, have gorgeous women want you, and have all the things, because you're a bazillionaire, and have lots of power and prestige, and have the blonde hair, blue eyes, colors of Christ. And so it was only fitting for them to not only have a blue eye president declare to the world that white people are the biggest threat to the world and to America, or to America and to the world by default, but also to use a full-on colors of Jesus Christ guy to be the guy who does everything they want at the end against white people, Continue sucking our money away, give even more money of ours away to them, continue keeping white people pacified while they worship him. We keep losing more and more ground to the non-whites and Jews. And all the while, all his fans just keep defending all his moves and inactions and say #winning, when in fact we are not. So, yeah, we're in a little bit of a pickle with, Trump being in office. And like I said, he may it may be part of their scheme. It may be part of their playwright that they've drawn up, that he's going to start acting more and more based, right? He just posted the thing about the Obamas being monkeys. That was totally on purpose. It wasn't a fucking accident. There's no such thing as coincidences in politics or in crime. And so that was posted on purpose. That's to rile up the non-whites against white people, okay? And then that makes the based white people, the white people that think they're based, not real based white people like us, but people who think they're based, like Trump conservatives and shit, that are getting sick of the non-whites, but they haven't really figured out the whole deal yet, and they still bow to the Jews and everything. It makes them go, oh, yeah, nice jab at the Obamas. They are like monkeys, man. And they don't mind talking about Big Mike and everything else. So they're all on board with that. So since they're going to be loving the joke and defending the joke, that'll make the non-whites hate the MAGA supporters even more, which is white people in their opinion, that all white people are MAGA supporters in their head. And then the next thing was he just blasted the Super Bowl halftime show. And honestly, I'm glad he did. But again, if he starts doing more and more seemingly based things that we approve of, that we like, I'll say now, it's okay for us to cheer him on doing those, but just know that you don't cheer him on as though you really think that he believes that he was doing that for the good of white people. You cheer him on to antagonize the non-whites, piss them off more about the stuff, to accelerate all this happening, and you do it to encourage him to be more based and do more anti-non-white shit. You know what I mean? More pro-white stuff. And the more if he does start doing that kind of stuff, and we all are cheering him on, not just us, but all the MAGA worshipers will instantly just bow at him and throw all their money at him and just, oh man, if he wants to make real money, I could tell him how to make real money. Trump, sit down with me tonight. You want to get rich? You want to pay off all them crazy debts you probably have or whatever? Man, I could tell you how to turn all your debt into liquid tomorrow. All you got to do is turn pro-white. Keep posting shit that pisses off the non-whites. Post shit about non-whites being critters instead of freaking white people like they aren't. And all that shit. Man, you'd have so much money flooding into every pro-Trump organization. You'd have to make up 15 more new pro-Trump organizations just to be able to absorb all the money intake. You'll pay off all your bills in a single day. All you got to do is just start posting all kinds of pro-white shit. Say that white people are the only Americans. Say that Jesus Christ is the only Savior and King of our people and our country. Say that this is a white Christian country and for white Christians only. And you'll have so much money pouring in. You'll have more than the Jews ever made up and gave you. Whatever her name is, Mary Adelson or whatever, shit. Her $250,000 or $250 million, you won't even remember that money. You have like $10 billion every hour, just pling, 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 coming in from white people. You want to drain the white people, the MAGA supporters, you want to make them go broke as a joke, all of them overnight. You want to drain all their bank accounts? Go pro-white, Trump. Go pro-white, and you'll drain every white person's bank account overnight. They'll all just send you all their freaking money because that's what they've been desperate for you to be. And if he decides to do that, he will start absolutely getting huge amounts of following again by white people. The white people will start loving him again. They'll think, see, you stupid freaking anti-Trumper white people, we told you all along he was on our side. We told you trust the plan. You freaking stupid lefties didn't want to believe us. We knew all along. Oh, man. I would honestly love for that to happen that way. I would love for Trump to go pro-white as totally a part of the scheme of keeping white people docile. You know, I'm cool with it because it would piss off the non-whites so much that they'll go more gloves off about white people to white people that we're trying to uncuck. These cucked white people will be out in public, and even though they're anti-Trump and they're totally against all the abhorrent stuff that Trump says and whatever, non-whites will be so pissed off at all white people because of what all he's doing being pro-white that they'll still be nasty to the white cucks who are trying to pander to them and bow to them. And the harder they bow and pander and the more the non-whites go, shut up, stupid ass white bitch. I don't give a fuck you say you're on our side. You white. You know? I see what you just pretending you ain't down with him right now. Because I'm standing here. But if I wasn't here, you wouldn't be no pro-liberal like that. You wouldn't be all pro-black like you're acting. And so that's the thing is they... Sorry. Got distracted for a second. That's the thing is they will accuse all white people of being the baddies if Trump starts posting... you know, pro-white stuff, anti-non-white stuff. Now, granted, it seems like he'll never it appears as though he will never do any such thing, right? But let's look at what has quickly happened in just a couple of weeks' time. We've had, or actually just a few days' time, we had the monkey post of the Obamas, which absolutely will enrage all blacks, right? And then you got him blasting the Super Bowl, which will piss off all the freaking Puerto Ricans and all the freaking Latin invaders, all the Browns. So he's now just in a couple of days' time pissed off the blacks and the Browns, right? So is he ever going to post anything that pisses off directly at the Jews? Absolutely not. But the Jews may permit him to start posting things that are anti-non-white to piss off the non-whites against white people more and more. Because remember, 2020, the summer of 2020, they used Trump to piss off a bunch of the blacks, and that caused millions of white people to be attacked all over the place, including lots of people who weren't Trump supporters. So they could just do it all over again, only on an amplified scale, if they get Trump to start posting things that pisses non-whites off. And so I'm all for it. I hope he does. I hope that ends up being their plan. It would make the next 3 years way more entertaining for us than if he just stays making white people lose every fucking day while he keeps freaking pandering to the non-whites and putting dung hut rappers at his podium while he holds hands with them with their 6-inch nasty ass nails on. And you know, how they wipe their ass with those claws. You ever thought about that? They can't wipe their ass with those giant long fingernails like that. So that motherfucker had to hold hands with that nasty. What an idiot, man. I swear, dude. Trump, people that worship that guy thinking he's a genius. What a bunch of fucking dipshits, man. This idiot puts any dung hut rapper that's willing to put a MAGA hat on at his podium to talk to his 99.99999% white voter base with some dung hut wisdom they have. Who knows what it is? Meanwhile, every cuck in that stadium watching, every cuck at home watching on the TV, on the tal-MUD vision, voted for him 3 times in a row. They lost either their girlfriend over it, or some of their family members don't talk to them anymore, lost some of their kids over it, had their tires slashed, that cost them $1,500 for a new set, had their windows bashed, that cost another $3,000 to get fixed, had their car keyed, that's going to cost them $10,000 or $7,000. So now, because of freaking expenses of everything nowadays, thanks to Trump inflation and Bidenomics and Trump inflation again. So now you can't afford to repaint the vehicle, so you drive around in a keyed up vehicle. But you'll never be asked by Trump to come up to his podium and air your fucking grievances, especially after suffering as much as you have, voting for him 3 times and wearing your MAGA hat and all your bullshit. You're never going to get invited with your white, commoner, hard-working American ass to come to his podium. But tal-MUD Tatum puts on a fucking MAGA hat, or Cardi B, or Nicki Minaj, or any of these stupid fucks puts on a MAGA hat. I don't remember the name of that one dumbass black male that they put at his stage, the one with glasses, that doofus-ass rapper dude. I don't even know what his name was. Fucking Little Monkey's all I know. Holding their hands, putting them at this podium. Cucks to every non-white as hard as he can. He'll hire Julio instead of you in an instant. Just like any other Trump-servative business owner will. They'll hire Jorge instead of you in a flash. They look at your resume. You don't have the qualifications, white man. Sorry. Jorge freaking shows up. What's a resume? He don't even know what that is. He don't even know what the word fucking means, much less has one. He's fresh off the boat, or fresh off the airplane in this case, in America. He's fresh from the airport. And what will the Trump-servative business owner do? Yeah, come on, Jorge, that's all right. You don't really got to know nothing. I'll train you. We'll train you up. It's all right. How much you need to make? Oh, you got 4 kids? Oh, you got 8 kids. Oh, shit, man. Well, it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be right if I only paid you $12 an hour like I made all these white guys start at and made them work here 10, 12 years, work their way up to $20 an hour, $24 an hour. No, I'm going to have to just hire you at that pay because ain't no way you're going to be able to pay for 8 kids and your wife unless you just make what all the white guys that have been here for 20 years make. So I'm just going to hire you. I'll start you right off at $24 an hour. How about that, Jorge? All the white guys have worked for me for 20 years. Some of them still don't make $24 an hour. But you, Jorge, who doesn't know jack fucking shit about my industry here we do, who can't even speak a fucking word of English except see and yes sir and whatever, which that isn't English, but you know what I mean. Few words. And keep in mind, he's not saving any money. He's not getting cheaper labor. You're not being replaced by cheaper labor. He's willing to pay Jorge the same amount as he's paying you for being there 20 years. And if you confront him and go, boss, what the fuck? This guy isn't even qualified. And you're going to hire him? He can't even speak English? You're going to hire him and give him the same fucking pay you give us that have been here 20 years for you? What happened to starting him at $12 an hour like you started all of us white guys at and made us work for you for 20 fucking years broke as a joke? You watched us struggle to pay our bills. You watched our old lady leave us because we couldn't make enough money. You watched our kids going without because we didn't make enough money so that you could have enough profit every month for you to have your big house, for you to have your big cars, for your kids to go to fucking Purdue. And now we've pushed you all the way through life, living a great life, while we all ate fucking peanuts to survive. And your fucking stupid, retarded traitor ass is going to give this fucking brownoid who just showed up in America the same fucking pay? Fuck you. And that's how you need to react to any place you work, where a Trump-servative business owner does that horse shit. And they do that all over our country. So, one good thing that came out of this Trump bashing on the Brownoids halftime show thing is, and even the one about the Obamas being monkeys is, it's pissed off the blacks and browns. And it's going to cause Trump-servative business owners to now have brown and black disgruntled employees. Aha! See, they didn't think about that when the Jews pulled their little stunts. They didn't think about the fact that Trump-servative employees, Trump-servative business owners, diversity hires are going to become disgruntled with them because they all see the boss has the big Trump sticker on his truck. They all see him come in wearing his MAGA hat, all proud of his decision that he made when he voted. And now they've seen that Trump bashed all the brownoids, said they're a disgrace, said their whole fucking thing was garbage, like it was. Un-American, like it was. Slap in the face to America, like it was. And meanwhile, they thought it was dandy. They thought, oh, man, that was a brownoid extravaganza. What do you mean you didn't like it? What do you mean your president you're so proud of thought it was a slap in Americans' faces? That was beautiful. That was our culture. And your favorite guy is just insulting our culture, our beautiful culture, as though it's garbage and un-American and a slap in the face to you all? That's how they're thinking. That's how all those diversity hires are thinking about their Trump-servative boss. And you can bet your ass that certain Trump-servative business owners are going to be killed by their own diversity hire employees. You want to know how? That fucking Spanish twat that Trump-servative guy hired to be his maid and whatever, his secretary, his gopher chick or whatever, his coffee girl. Well, guess what she's going to do? Maria is going to start putting a little Ajax in his coffee every time he wants a refill. Remember that airline pilot or that that Army fighter pilot, whatever guy, who scooped himself up an Asian from fucking wherever he met her, brought her here to America. She lived in fucking rags and filth. Would have never been anything but Asian number 6,485,612,416. He brought her here. He gave her a mega house to live in. He's a fighter pilot or some shit, you know? This dude was like top shelf guy, but a cuck. And what happened? She was putting Ajax in his coffee every morning, slowly poisoning him to death. Gave her everything. Gave her the whole world. Shit she would have never seen with her own Asian beady eyes had he not brought her here and gave her everything. Giant house. She didn't have to work. Fucking all the money she wanted to spend. She lived like the richest white girls live. And how'd she repay him? Slowly poisoning him with Ajax in his coffee every day. Well, guess what, Trump-servative business owners, whoever listen to this? Better make your own coffee from now on. You better get your own food from now on. Because if a brownoid's touching it before they give it to you, you're drinking and eating spit. You're eating and drinking their fucking whatever they want to put in it. And you are eating and consuming something, I promise you that. And it's nasty. And you wouldn't want it if you knew what it was. And for all you stupid cucks that hear that, they go, I wouldn't give a shit. I'll eat, drink it, whatever. It ain't going to bother me. As long as I don't know it's there, I don't fuck care. Yeah, okay, dumbass. Them fuckers have diseases. And you don't have immunity to them. And to be honest with you, you really shouldn't eat food from any non-whites anywhere anymore. You go to any fast food joint and they got niggers in there or fucking spics in there making your food, you better fucking turn around and leave. And if you don't, you're a fool. I'm telling you that right now. And I realize that cuts out practically everywhere, but hey. You want to keep eating vomit or not vomit, but spit and jizz and piss and shit in your freaking food from the non-whites and getting diseases from them because you ate a taco from Taco Bell with the niggers working there and then you didn't want to pray over your food beforehand? Keep in mind, when you pray before you eat, your prayer could be the Holy Ghost's removal of the whole scenario when you first pulled up to the drive-thru to order your freaking food. Knowing the Holy Ghost, knowing that soon you're going to pray before you eat that food, could have commanded that nigger not to do anything to your food. And therefore, you get it home, and you pray like the Holy Ghost knew you were gonna, and your food's clean. But if the Holy Ghost knows when you get your food that you're just going to start shoveling it down your pie hole without praying and thanking him for it and asking him to bless it, guess what he's not going to make the nigger not do? He's not going to protect the nigger from spitting in your shit. He's going to make the nigger, or he's going to let the nigger do it. And the dude will be cackling, laughing his ass off while he hawks the loogie in your shit, and then he just smears it around a little bit. You can't tell it's there. You'll never know it's there. All these idiots that go, I can tell. Bullshit, you can. They'll mix that right in. You won't know it's there at all. It's not rocketing in your freaking pizza or whatever they want. So let this be a warning to all of you. You better be praying over your meals, every single one. And I recommend, for extra safety, don't ever let any non-whites make your food. Especially after Trump's tweet and the other tweet the other day. Because as far as the non-whites are concerned, to them, that's the cat's out of the bag. white people love Trump. So they say. And Trump's posting that shit. That means all white people think we's monkeys. Just like we accuse them of. And that means white people hate all the brownoids and think of them as invaders here. Just like the brownoids say they do. So I'm actually glad he did so. I'm glad he did it. And I'm not his fan. I'm not like, woohoo, pro-Trump. But I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he pissed off the non-whites, both sects of non-whites, the blacks and the brownoids. And like I said, we probably won't ever get to hear him say anything to piss off the Jews. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe the Jews will let him turn anti-Jew, and that'll be the whole thing. And if he did that, that's going to sucker a lot of based white people into thinking that he's gone pro-white, that he's actually, that our prayer has been answered. After all, we all had a group prayer, and I know many other places have, asking God to cause Trump to have a change of heart and realize what he's been suckered all along and turn his back on the Jews and do all the things for white people he needs to do. But since we know we're in year one of Jacob's trouble, that is not going to be the case. And even if it does be portrayed as though that's what he does for the last 3 years of his presidency, be pro-white all the way to the last day of his presidency, as soon as it's over, 6 months after his presidency or 8 or 9 months after his presidency ends is when our 3.5 year mark starts. And that is when whoever the new president is will declare open season on all white people. And all non-whites will be told to kill any non-whites, man, woman, or child you see in your sight, first sight. Just slaughter them. They're our enemies. They tried to kill us all when Trump was in office. Now we've taken power back, and it's revenge time. And the only way for all of us new Americans to be safe is to slaughter all these racist white people. And they'll use the lefty white people to help do it first. And once they have enough right-wing white people eliminated, where it's almost nothing but lefties left, they'll just turn on all of them and slaughter them. But that's coming in 3.5 years. And the 3.5 year mark will be about 9 months into the year 2029. Knowing the Jews, they'll probably do it on 9/11 or 9/1 because September 1st is when they changed the new year for themselves. So, could happen September 1st, could happen September 11th, could happen September 23rd. 9/23, remember 9/23? Only old school YouTubers remember 9/23. That's 2015 shit right there. 2014, 2015. You'd have to have been heavy in the truther movement back in the 2014, 2015 era to know about 9/23. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream off for tonight, but I wanted to say hello to you all after I showed you what I needed to show you tonight. I wanted this stream to appear as though it's a short stream. That way people might click on it. I'm already almost at 3.5 hours. But, no, I'm not. I'm at 2.5 hours. Hey, that's better. That's way better. I was thinking 3.5. I don't know why, but 2.5. Hey, that's pretty good. That's better than, that's a lot better than usual. I'm trying to chop these down much, much smaller so that people will be, inclined to maybe click on them. So, let me just say goodbye to everyone. Blue Columbine, thank you so much for stopping by and for you chiming in. I didn't read all the things, but I will read them post-chat and ponder and reflect on the things you have written. Also, Camo, thank you for chiming in and the things you had posted tonight. I will, of course, reflect on all of your things as well. And everybody else, Deb of Christ, God bless you, dear. I'm sorry. Again, and I love you, and we all love you, and I'm very sorry for the extra strength you're having to maintain at the moment. And the Holy Ghost, just lean on Him, hang on to Him, and and we will be, on over here caring about you, praying about you. I did say a solemn prayer for you, separate and specifically only for you. And so I hope that all ends up remaining well with you and your family. And God bless you to you all who decided to visit tonight and listen and read this horrible shit from the Jews. And I wish all of you a wonderful rest of your week and happy Sabbath as it comes up this weekend. I will do a Sabbath stream this weekend. That is the plan anyway. And so I will see you all, talk to you all, unless something crazy happens in between that causes me not to be able to. The plan is I will see you all, talk to you all on Sabbath as usual. So thank you all for stopping by and participating and giving this a listen. And I will talk to you all very soon in community posts and whatnot. And then I will talk to you for sure, or directly, I should say, on Sabbath. Take care, and God bless you all.